Hey YouTube, welcome back to my channel Bonsai Works. Today I have another juniper. However, this is a very prickly juniper. Not a needle juniper, I don't believe, but a lot of the foliage is super prickly, and I've had a real task trying to take the wire off this tree as well. This belongs to a customer, and I've had a look at this tree to see what can be achieved. Now, it's always good and it's always important to study a tree. Now, let's study this tree before I start the work. I was trying to be really creative with this tree, trying to think, can I do something extreme like my big heavy bending? This tree isn't as flexible as my Shimpakus and even the Prostrata and Procumbens, so I'm not sure what it is. The trunk is pretty much, I cannot move that trunk at all. So I was just trying to examine the tree. Let's examine the tree together and I'll take you through my thinking. The Nabari has a nice big root in here and a bit here, nothing at the back there. So this is kind of an interesting area, but it's kind of pointing directly at you. So I was trying to think of maybe I can move the tree this way, and I was kind of thinking I can try and tilt it right down and create a 1, 2, pretty much only having 2 branches, creating a small tree. But this is really straight. There's no real impact. This is too boring. I mean, this has to be twisty to make sure these branches are twisty. I really couldn't come up with that idea. I was contemplating it, but it really didn't work much. Didn't work well. So I'll go back to the drawing board. I really can't bend and twist this tree heavily, so got to really work with what I've got. So in this case, I'm going to work with what I've got. I've got a very straight tree. The branches are reasonably flexible. But they're all pointing upwards. See how they're all pointing upwards. Now, I wanted to try and get I was trying to think, can I make an alpine looking, really low branch formal upright? Now that's where I'm thinking anyway with this tree. Unfortunately, it's lost this branch, so that's a big problem. There's going to be a bit of a spare gap in here, but I can lower branches down into really creating a nice alpine tree. Now, the only thing is I want to kind of work with this root being on that side. So if it's in your face a little bit too much, I find it's a bit distracting for the eye. But if it's slightly that way, I'm probably want to work with the front around in there. Hopefully it'll look a little bit better, but it's not going to be a huge difference. But that's one thing I'm looking at doing, having the roots on the side rather than pointing at front of you. So I am going to try and do a formal upright with this tree. I'm going to work with what I've got in this case. The other idea I have also, there's really 2 ideas. Have a tall and formal upright, or I can use this branch here. This branch here's got a couple of little branches. Maybe create a new top in here, wire these down, and create a gin at the top, which not thinking that's going to be the way, but we'll see. You never know what happens. You never know what happens. I like to have a shorter tree, but we'll see what happens in this tree. I'm not 100% convinced what's going to happen up the top in here. Down here, I'm probably going to keep 1, 2, 3. I'm going to eliminate this back branch, which is actually a little bit weak. Have a gin there anyway. Have a gin obviously there, and that's pretty much it. I need to have the other branches there, part of the tree. So the plan would be minimal foliage as well with the formal upright. Really try and get the branches going down as much as I can. These are not too bad, but I want to get further down. Clean up underneath, clean up the process, and so forth. So I always start at the bottom and I'll work my way up the tree. Okay, so I'm going to start here, start wiring these branches. So the next part of this video, you'll see these branches all wide out and trying to get them really low, really alpine low, like angles. So that's a pretty good angle almost there. Alpine low down and out, shorten a bit too. But yeah, that's the plan. Okay, so that's my thinking and how I went about thinking about this tree and how to style it. So just a quick update, as I mentioned, 1, 2, 3 branches all wide and brought down, creating flat pads, down, flat pad, created one large one in here and then a smaller one in here with the sycamore branch. Oops, that got knocked up. So one flat one, a high one, and the back one's just filling in the gaps, so you can just see a little bit on each side of it, which is really what you want to see, just a bit of depth on that branch. Now I just covered with a towel because I don't want all this foliage to fall on the soil because of a mess to clean up. But there we go, like nice, simple. You can see now the sweeping motion of it all coming down and flattening out. Now I'm working on these 2. I'm going to try and make the whole tree, like use the whole tree, see if I can get stuff down in here, or I will just maybe drop that down and maybe create an apex in here. We'll see what happens. but I'll make sure I film whatever I do so you guys can see it. So now I'm just up to this step. Again, it's just wiring, pulling down, creating pads, creating fanning them out. Simple process. I've got like 600 plus videos on my channel. I've done many videos on tutorials on how to fan out, how to place pads and so on, and I'll put at the end of this video a link to those videos. All right, now I'm up to the next level. So it's actually looking pretty good up until here, of course. Now I have decided to put that as a branch, not try and create another tree in here. I think it would have been too short and not very attractive, so and we're going to lack branches in this area. So I've just thinned out a lot of the foliage just with my hands, just flicking the foliage. Some of the weak stuff just falls off. In plucking underneath, you really be able to pluck a lot of things. Now the apex is probably the hardest thing to style, especially with this gap here. So you can hopefully see what I'm going to have to try and do. So there's a big branch here and a big branch here that I'll be able to pull right down and try and fill in these gaps that I need to fill in. And then we'll look at how I'm going to build the apex around here and how tall it's going to be. It's a bit straight up like that. Please don't leave a tall, pointy thing. It's got to be rounded. So that's the important thing. Make sure it's a rounded apex, which I'll have to do. So I'm just going to slowly wire all these down, these main branches, try and get them into a very steep descent, down as much as I can, as far as I can without breaking them, of course. And then they're too long, of course, as well, so they'll have to be shortened. So just try and get them nice and down and really build up the tree. This little gin probably is a feature, just saying something's happened here, so it actually can explain why there's a missing branch and maybe there's a gap. So that's a good thing too. But I'm just going to now wire the top and build the final bit of the tree. So there we go. All right, so I've made my way up into this area of the tree. Obviously the issue is like there's a bit of a gap in here. There's a gin here, but I've been able to use this back branch. There's a back branch here that I've been able to bend around and just make a peep out of the side just in there. So it might need a slight, when this is repotted, it might need a slight tilt, and slight tilt back up straight. So it's bending a bit to this way. It just needs to be tilted a little bit more straighter. But that's all little stuff that we can deal with. But at the moment, we're working with this as the front, and we'll see how we go about it. So I've actually wired up 1, 2, 3. This is the highest branch I wired. I didn't wire this because I think it's too tall. It's also quite damaged, and I don't think it will survive what I'm going to do in terms of bending. So I'm just going to try and use all these branches here to create the final apex area. I want to try and keep it nice and compact. I might be reducing a lot of the branches a bit more, but I just want to finish off a nice little rounded apex. So now it's a bit of a play around with these branches to try and get them in the right position. And then I usually find if there's something I've got to pluck off and see what I do. So I tried to show you how I created that apex. It's usually just twisting and bending branches around until you're happy with where they all sit. And because it's nice and small, it's actually quite nice. It's very tall and elegant. Now I've just got this apex out here. Now the option is you can gin it. I think it's too small to gin, and I don't think it's needed, but I will try and show you what it looks like. But I don't need this part. Now there's a little bit of a gin sticking out, but it's, I don't know. I'll leave it for now. I'll just gin it. I don't think it's entirely needed, so let me just do that. So I'm just going to take a step back now and just enjoy and see what it looks like and try and just correct whatever I need to. I still think it just needs slightly in there is the front. Slight tilt towards you guys. Not a bad formal upright, I guess you can say. Pretty cool tree, very different. It's very tall alpine. Think of it in the alpine regions. It needs a much more shallower pot now, very shallow, probably this thick. I like the width as well, but just needs to be about that thick. This is way too heavy now, so about that thick. But that width is nice too. Looks like more of a landscape tree. Very elegant, very interesting. I'm pretty happy with the result. So let me just clean it up and do a turn for you guys. Just fold it around. So pretty nice overall from what it was at the start. So I think about there, I want to see this root. I think that's kind of the front. So three-dimensionally, it's got branches all around. It's not two-dimensional, so all around the branching. Apex is interesting. Maybe a little bit heavy here, but I think time will tell with how we're going to build this tree out. Now just let the tree recover and let it do its thing. Let it do its thing, grow on over the spring and summer, and it should be good. So from pretty much very difficult material, you get a nice formal upright, quite nice and elegant tree. So I'm pretty happy with it. I hope the customer enjoys it too. Now, if you're in Melbourne, of course, and you like my work and you want me to work on your trees, please contact me at bonsaiworks@gmail.com. Happy to work on your trees for you. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you around for more.